There's a legend round here. A killer buried, but not dead.
Hey everyone, Genome here, coming at you with a long overdue ranking video of the Friday the 13th series. For whatever reason, when I did my series review like a year and a half ago or whatever, I didn't shoot this, so I don't know, shame on me I guess.
You big dildo.
But I did one not too long ago for the Nightmare on Elm Street series, and I'm going to be doing one for the George Romero, at least the first 4 movies of the Dead series. So I think I better go back and revisit and do Jason his proper respect and due, right? So let's go ahead and get into my top, technically like 11. Basically, it's gonna be a countdown of my least favorite to favorite in the series. So quick caveat before I get into this: I know some of these choices are probably gonna rankle some fans, you know, the purists out there. Well, these are the movies that I enjoy in the series the most. These aren't necessarily the best like horror movie like examples from the series or whatever. These aren't the best like slasher movies. These are maybe not even the best movies in the series, but they're the ones that I revisit the most and enjoy the most. So hey, opinions, there's a saying about that. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, let's get into it. So starting all the way back at number 11, the dregs, the total, oh, I don't know, the cacophony of sound of raucous crows like bemoaning this movie.
What the hell kind of an analogy is that?
My least favorite movie in the entire Friday the 13th franchise is Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan. I loathe this movie. It's still kind of fun in certain ways, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all, really. Awful characters, kind of an awful premise. I don't want to take Jason out of the woods. I know you want to do something different and try to get this hype for going to New York. A lot of people complain that it wasn't enough New York or Toronto or whatever in this movie, but I don't care about that because I didn't like the city setting anyway for him. It just doesn't work for him because basically, you know, why would he be following a select group of teens around when he could just be slaughtering the entire city, you know, willy-nilly? Didn't like it. This is the worst, absolute worst teleporting Jason we have ever seen in film. He has magical powers like crazy in this one. I do feel bad because Kane looked like he's always wet and slimy in this movie, but just, I didn't like it. I did like the cruise ship idea, though. I think it was kind of a cool idea to put Jason on a cruise ship because now basically you have 2 things working against you when you're at the sea, right? You have a bunch of kids trapped in an inescapable situation because there's death if you go overboard and death if you stay aboard. So that part was kind of cool. So I wouldn't mind if they stayed the whole time on the ship. Didn't like the city aspects, but just the movie was awful. Makeup looked horrible. There's no continuity to Jason whatsoever, like in his looks. Like, why was he completely rotted in 7 and now all of a sudden fleshy again in 8? No sense. Awful movie, awful kills. Easily my least favorite of the series.
It sucks!
So here's the very first thing. It's probably going to get me in Dutch with a lot of fans of the series, and that's my number 10 selection for, and this is definitely falls toward the least favorite of the series. That's the original movie.
What?
Friday the 13th Part 1 just doesn't do it for me. It never has. The only really good thing about this movie I could say is, well, there's 2 technical good things. The atmosphere is really good in this movie. Like, it feels very isolated, and it feels like these kids are cut off from the outside world, right? So that part is done well, and the gore effects you do see, because this movie is rife with cutaway kills, looks exceptionally good. Like, everyone knows the arrow head to the throat. Everyone knows the axe to the face. Even the arrow in the eye, which we don't actually see on screen, just the corpse, looks really good, right? The neck slash scene's iconic. But there's nothing else to be said for this movie. Most of the acting stinks. I wasn't even crazy about Betsy Palmer in this and her talking to herself, "Hi, Daddy. Yes, Mommy," or whatever it was. Oh, it was just grating on my nerves, man. It didn't show me her as a schism psyche. It just looked like her reciting lines, and I don't know, holding the audience's hand. I didn't need to hear her speaking in Jason's voice or whatever. We don't know who Jason's voice is, but whatever the case may be, I just didn't care for that movie this much. This movie is kind of boring, man.
Nice bite.
Keep it smoking, boy.
Smoking. Don't smoke. Causes cancer.
You know what I mean. Would you just get up a spaceship or something? Colombian gold, man. Grass, hash, the weed. Dig it?
Like, by my rough estimation, and I talked about this in my original review, I'm pretty sure, there's probably like 10, maybe even 20 minutes of footage in this film you could cut to make it flow much better. But there's a lot of just long, lingering scenes that serve no purpose. I mean, I can't remember her name. You know, Adrienne King's character, the final girl character, she makes coffee for like 3.5 minutes on screen. It's like, I know you got to pad the runtime sometimes, but that's not the way to do it. And a lot of this doesn't work. You have to suspend your disbelief to the umpteenth degree to believe that Pamela, a woman of her age, is throwing like corpses through windows and just hanging corpses in trees. It doesn't make any sense, man. It's like, and it's set up as a whodunit, but you can't solve the whodunit because there's no even red herring in this movie. It's just a silent, invisible killer, right? Well, we see some boots every now and then, man boots, right? I don't like this movie that much. I'm sorry. You know, kudos for being the original, but I just don't think it's that great. So, okay, that's off the plate, so maybe I won't get so much heck for the rest of these. So let's go on to my number 9 least favorite, but we're starting to move into movies that I kind of enjoy watching. And that is Friday the 13th Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. Much maligned in the series, but there are a few good things about this movie. Effects look amazing. Some of the gore effects in this film are maybe the best in the series. And that's saying something, right? Because we've had Tom Savini's work before, but really good gore effects when you see them in this movie. So I wasn't crazy about Jason's look, even though you don't barely see him. He was way too fleshy and big and kind of bulbous. Wasn't a fan, and then the tucked-in shirt with the belt and all that just didn't work, man. It looked like he should be playing shuffleboard or something. But it was an interesting premise, and you know, I've done an interview with Adam Marcus. He's a great guy. He's very forthright about it, what he was going for in the movie. And if you put yourself into that mindset, like he's going for something different, I can dig it, right? And he goes over this in great detail in our interviews, like, the lore was all over the place for Jason, and he's right. I mean, it was nothing too consistent other than Jason gets up and kills people, right? So, okay, took him out of the more familiar settings and the more familiar tropes and put him in some entirely new tropes. I wasn't crazy about the end product, but I don't hate it by default because Jason was different. I think a lot of people do that, and that's just the wrong way to look at this film, I think. On its own merits, there's a lot of really bad stuff, like, I don't know, I didn't like him suddenly having siblings, and that was kind of strange, and then his resurrection was kind of gross in a way, if you think about it, but okay, whatever. It is a horror movie, right? So, but, I don't know, it's hated for the wrong reasons, I think, and I don't hate this film. This film is actually kind of fun. So, but as far as like Jason films that I want to go watch, or Friday the 13th films, that I want to go watch on a regular basis, this is a little bit lower on the list, just because I don't get as much joy out of it, I guess. But Creighton Duke's fun.
Oh, fuck!
Real fun character, one of the most fun characters maybe in the entire series, so there's that going forward as well. So, hey, what are you going to do? Also has a explosive beginning, so there's that. So it's just different. So give it a chance, judge it on its own merits. Don't hate it, just because the director tried something different, right? Same thing with the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. You know, I didn't hate it because Robert Englund didn't play Freddy. I can get right past that. Jackie Earle Haley did a great job. There's other parts of the movie that made it bad, but I don't hate it by default. So I never understood that mentality. But anyway, I'm rambling. So my number 9 pick is Jason Goes to Hell. Happens to be the 9th movie in the series. So, okay, now we're getting down to stuff. Basically, everything down here and below, I would be happy to watch anytime. So I'm just kind of like ranking them in order of which one I kind of like the best and would watch more often, right? So my number 8th slot is actually taken by the 5th movie, and that's Friday the 13th Part 5, New Beginning, right? Another kind of, this used to be a really reviled movie in the franchise, but it's definitely picked up a cult following, and this probably is in no short order or in no short reason. Forget the short references.
You're not on my wavelength, are you, son?
Okay, just for the main reason is probably because Deborah Voorhees is a great person, and she is doing some great horror stuff right there in the community. I actually did an interview with her as well, shameless plugs, and she's great, man. She's a rounded person. Wasn't that from a Simpsons episode? No, Futurama episode. But she is. She's just an interesting person, man. She goes on to have a writing career, and now she's like kind of behind the screen, or behind the scenes, and she's pulling the strings of movies now. It's good stuff, and she's collecting good minds all around her. So, fascinating stuff. But the movie itself was often maligned because of the horror comedy overtones, and there's definitely that facet to be had there. But I will say, the characters, some of the characters at least in this movie, are quite memorable as opposed to many of the others in the series, right?
Morning, Ethel. Hi, don't you look lovely today?
Poor shit.
I mean, you got the redneck duo of Ethel and her boy.
Eat your fucking slop. Ain't I make the best goddamn stew in the whole wide world?
Best goddamn stew in the whole wide world, man.
As annoying as they can be, at least the boy, Junior, is, Ethel's funny as heck, man. The stuff that she says in this movie is just hilarious, right? And, you know, most of the teen fodder is kind of nondescript. Deborah does look like she wants to be there. She's kind of got some personality to her, but a lot of the other ones are kind of dead-eyed and just throwing the lines out there. But you got the famous dance scene with Violet. Hard to go wrong with that. You get to hear some pseudo-echo in the background, too. She's dancing, too. I think the reason a lot of people hated this movie was by default, again, just like the last movie we talked about, is because it wasn't Jason in this movie, right? Well, guess what? He was Jason until the unmasking, right? He did everything that Jason normally does. He just didn't happen to be a Voorhees at the end. I don't think that's a good reason to hate this movie. I mean, it is this one at least is a whodunit. Like, first one supposedly was some sort of whodunit, even though there's nothing there. There's like 5 red herrings in this movie. And we finally find out who it is at the end, and it makes at least a little bit of sense, even though he's killing random strangers for the death of the sun. So he went just a little bit ballistic, but kind of a fun movie. A lot of cutaway kills, but it's like the highest body count or second highest body count in the series. So there's that for you. I know there's some memorable kills. A lot of skin for those of you who like that sort of thing in movies. Who doesn't, I guess. It's just kind of a fun movie. You know, it's just like a lot of these films, people read into them too much, and you have to like it for this reason, you have to dislike it for this reason. And I just kind of enjoy this movie, even though it's not the greatest in the series. It does everything that a Friday movie does. It just takes the main protagonist and changes who he is. But he is that protagonist for the entire movie, so like or dislike it on its own merits. Don't hate it out of by default, right? So anyway, that's it. That's my number 8 pick, Friday the 13th, Part 5, New Beginning. So 7, my 7th favorite film in this franchise is actually the 2009 remake. The reason for this, though, mostly is because Jason's portrayal by Derek Mears is just off the charts good, man. This is like, he is either the best or tied for the best, I think, Jason in the entire series. His mannerisms are pretty perfect. He's violent. He's actually a little bit scary in this movie, especially at the beginning when the sack head look. I liked it much, much better than the hockey mask look. And he's quick, he's aggressive. They show him as kind of smart. He's not the shambling undead Jason that we've all come to know and semi-love. This guy, he means business, man, and I kind of dig it. Now, I wasn't real big on the cast. You know, they're all kind of like Abercrombie models or whatever, and it just didn't really work for me. I just couldn't wait for Jason to get a hold of them, but there's some pretty good kills in this movie, too. In fact, my second favorite kill of the entire series, which is Chewie getting it through the chin with the screwdriver, is in this flick. There's some goodness to be had there. It's a little too slick and polished. I think that was part of the problem with this movie. But, you know, how are you going to hold out against the movie, I guess? But I kind of did. You know, I'm an 80s horror guy. So, great Jason portrayal. And just kind of a by-the-numbers Friday the 13th movie with actually a little bit of tried backstory anyway, brother looking for sister, kind of a repeat of 4, right? But it's like an amalgamation of like parts 1, 2, and 3, so there's that going for it. It's okay. It's not great, and a lot of peers hate it, but I don't hate it once again by default. It's somewhat enjoyable to watch at points. So that's my number 7. So for number 6, this is sure to get the pitchforks and fire burning up again.
Let's go burn down the observatory so this'll never happen again.
My next favorite is technically not a mainline part of the series, but for the same reason that I rated it in my Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I'll rate it here. And of course, that's Freddy vs. Jason. Ken Kirchner's not the world's best Jason, but he's not horrible. He did, I'm sure, everything the director told him to do. So I can't blame him for the director directing him that way. The kind of the big, lumbering, oafish kind of Jason. It is what it is. It is, and we got what we all wanted for a long time. That was a big bout between Freddy and Jason. And that part of the movie delivered in spades. Oh my gosh, they just butchered each other at the end. There's actually technically 2 good fights. I thought the first one in the Dream Realm was going to be the big fight. And it was actually semi-satisfying other than Freddy's freaking hamming it up, of course. But we were treated to basically a 20-minute throwdown at the end. That's pretty good, because most of these, when you pit 2 icons against each other, usually the fights are just a freaking flame out, like 2 or 3 blows or something, and then it's just over. It's like that in comics, it's like that in movies. Usually it's pretty lame. Well, this one, they saved everything for the end. Because no one cares about the kids in this movie, let's be honest. No one cares about the acting in this movie, and most of it's pretty pedestrian and kind of dull if they're not fighting, but it is what it is. The fights are fun, so it looks all right. Visually speaking, I know a lot of people give Ronnie Yu crap for not knowing the series, and there is that to be had there, but it pays a little bit of homage to both franchises, and it looks really nice. I do like the color palette changes between Jason and Freddy, the green blues for Jason and the reds for Freddy. I mean, it's cheesy and hacky, but I kind of liked it, so makeup looks fine. Some of the effects are over top ridiculous, like the spurting blood number, but whatever. It is what it is, and we finally got the throwdown, so that's actually my number 6. So basically halfway through the series now. Let's get to the top 5.
But the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah.
So the top 5 all hold special places in my heart, but, the entire series does. So I hate to choose favorites, but, everyone wants to see favorites. They want to see an actual ranking video, so here we go. My number 5 favorite movie in this franchise used to be my favorite of all the franchise, and that is Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood. There's a lot going for this movie, and if it wasn't for the MPAA, eviscerating this movie way worse than Jason ever could to any hapless teen, it might be even higher on the list, but there's basically no blood in this movie.
We paid for blood.
This movie could be shown on TV with just cutting out a little bit of the nudity and maybe it's the language. That's how tame it is, but I could see some of the setups for the kills would probably be pretty good, but it is what it is, and we'll never see that footage. Apparently, it's lost to the dregs of time.
My final words.
A lot of fun to be had in this movie. Sometimes it's a really cool premise. I know they wanted it to be Carrie versus Jason, but Tina's fine. I don't care if it's Carrie or not. I'm not a huge Carrie guy anyway, so whatever. It's a big throwdown at the end, man. You got this freaking super powerful girl, right? Final girl versus Jason, who's in a really powerful state. Great stuff, man. That's epic at the end. I like the back and forth. I like someone putting Jason on his back heel for a change. That's brilliant. But she was never so confident of herself and overpowered that it still wasn't saving her, actually. She had to do a last-ditch effort thing to do it. Jason still just walked. He tanked it all, right? Jason's makeup looks incredible in this movie. Yes, the physics don't make sense. He should be an emaciated skeleton being underwater all that time. Whatever. Makeup effects have never looked better in this series as far as Jason goes. His unmasking is a thing of legend, and deservedly so. Kane Hodder's first appearance as Jason, too, is quite memorable. I still prefer CJ as the zombie Jason. That's just me. But, he kind of brought some new mannerisms to Jason, and for playing zombie Jason, who's fine. So, cool protagonist, cool adversary for a protagonist, and a pretty nicely shot looking thing. And it did most of the other Jason stuff by the numbers, so that's my number 5. So, top 4. So, my number 4 favorite movie in the entire Friday the 13th series is Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. So, the second of the Steve Miner Friday the 13th, and here we have Richard Brooker playing the mask killer, and this is where he gets this iconic hockey mask. For better or for worse, this is what we got for the rest of the series with him. So, but it's still human Jason. So, why not hold up 2 for that? And it's not peace, that's for sure. Just a fun, by-the-numbers thing. If you take the 3D out of it, which I will, because I've never actually seen this movie in true 3D, it's a by-the-numbers Friday the 13th movie. You know, you got teenagers go out to the woods and get killed. Higgins Haven is not exactly the mostly wood area we're seeing, and the barn encompasses a lot of the kill scenes in this movie, but it's just there. It's a fun movie. Maybe some of the soundtrack was a little bit questionable, but especially that opening theme. But yeah, it just does everything a Friday the 13th movie is supposed to do. It's pretty solid. It's got a really good Jason. Richard Brooker is a good Jason. He's still running at this point, which is nice. He's kind of a hulking presence. His brief unmasking looks pretty cool. He's super deformed. Some pretty good kills in this movie, actually, as well. When they weren't trying for overt 3D cheesiness, they actually weren't too bad. I don't know, just a fun Friday flick. So, solid as a rock, and has one of the more iconic kills in the series with the, basically, the handstand kill. Everyone knows that one very well. So, just a fun movie with a really good Jason. And I like Jason's look a lot in this one. This might be my favorite. Even the hunchback kind of look to him is kind of, that's cool. It just like shows you what a tormented body that Jason has, right? So, now my number 4 pick is number 3. Top 3, we're finally getting to it. And if people were mad with some of my decisions before, like where I placed the original, they're really going to hate me on this one, because my 3rd favorite in the series is Jason X.
I don't think any of us expected him to say that.
That's right, I went and said it. Jason X. Space. Jason goes to space, right?
No offense, but what the hell are you talking about?
I love this movie. This movie is so popcorn and fun that it's not even funny. There's not a lick of suspense in this movie. There's not a lick of like scariness in this movie or horror. It's just a like basically sci-fi butchery, and I love it. I love this movie for whatever reason. It's like does not take itself seriously like a lot of these movies do that are really bad. This one is totally tongue-in-cheek. Yes, a lot of the humor is cringy and stupid. I still love it. I don't care. There's actually some fairly good kills in this one. You know, of course, the famous liquid nitrogen one, which is not my favorite in the movie, by the way. I like the neck breaker. It's a more simple one. That's my favorite one in the film. One of my favorite in the series, actually. Just fun. It's just a fun concept. If you can like turn your brain off for 90 minutes and turn your ego off too for saying, I can't watch this. This is awful. And yes, it is awful. The movie's awful and it knows it's awful. That's why I like it so much.
Hey, you want a beer?
Or do you want to smoke some pot?
Or we can have premarital sex.
So it looks pretty slick and polished for a sci-fi movie, right? It's got a fun cast, fun premise, and I can't fault this movie. I like watching it. So it is what it is, and that's my number 3 pick for the series. So top 2, here we go. Technically top 3, but more on that later. My second favorite movie in this entire series is the second movie in the series, Friday the 13th Part 2. Yep, there we go. The first of the Steve Miner Fridays.
Excellent.
One of the great things about this movie is how much it built upon and then improved upon its predecessor, the original. It came out pretty quickly afterwards. It was basically a cash grab, but enough respect was paid to the actual first movie to keep fans of the series already established happy, right? Unlike Nightmare on Elm Street 2, which completely departed from the first movie like 8 months prior, this movie kind of kept the lore intact somewhat. It just changed the protagonist. It was cool, and it did everything better. Camera work was so good in this movie. Steve Miner, I think, has my favorite camera work. He's tied with Tom McLaughlin in the entire series. It's active, it's dynamic, it's moving, it's following people around. Some great camera shots in there. I love like the look of Jason like closing in on his own shack when our final girl's hiding in there. It was just great. Jenny's a good final girl too, by the way. And I forgot to mention Trish from 3, whatever, but she's really good as well. But it just does everything right in this movie. And I didn't mind the Sackhead Jason look too much. It worked. He was a little bit bumbling at the end when he was like a super ninja before that, but that's every basically a horror movie, it seems, with a final act. It just works. Unfortunately, the MPA did cut this one to shreds, so a lot of cutaway kills. You don't see a lot of the gore. What we do see looks pretty good.
Where is she?
But yeah, that part was pretty rough, but I don't know, it just did everything right, man. There was like a bit of suspense because the killer is slowly picking people off. It made a little more sense because they were in different cabins and stuff this time. So, and half the people were out at the bar drinking or whatever. Just fun, man. There was some character building in this. You had some lore building in this, and excellent camera work. What's not to love? This movie is it's just so funny going from the original, which kind of is tiresome for me, and then it just goes to a perfectly paced like second installment. Usually the sequel is not nearly as good as the original, but this one I think it just blows the original away. I can forget the first one ever happened, and really just love this movie. So I guess you just figured out what happened. I'm at my top movie in the entire series. And
What is it? What is it?
and guess what? It's movies. I didn't miscount. I couldn't pick one. So the remaining 2 movies and my favorites in the entire series for a little bit different reasons are Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and for Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives.
Wow! What do you know?
Yep, I did it. So we got the best of the human Jasons, in my opinion, probably the best of the zombie Jasons. Best human Jason's a bit up in the air because I think it could have been either Ted White or Derek Mears. They both just played the role so well. But I like these movies as the top in the series for a couple different reasons. But let's separate this out. If we're just going by pure Friday the 13th, like in horror movie standards, Part 4 is the winner, right? It checked every box that a Friday the 13th movie needs to check. It's got a great Jason, it's got a pretty interesting cast, it's got a high body count, it's got some of the best kills in the series, maybe the best overall kills in the series, has fairly good atmosphere, and we have a great final act, right? So it's got everything. It even introduces some new dynamics with a family dynamic with Feldman and co, right? So haven't seen that before. And what can I say? It works. The movie just looks great, and it's so fun to watch, and it's a fan favorite for a good reason. It's just so cohesive, right? But it's more for the horror fan than Part 6 is. Now let's get on to Part 6. If I was going to start somebody in the series, or someone who wasn't a real big fan of horror, I would start them with 6 every time. Because it is a better movie. It's not necessarily a better Friday the 13th movie, but it's just a better movie overall, and probably the best movie in the entire series. It does everything. You have an interesting protagonist in Tommy, grown-up Tommy, right? Trying to excise his demons and then accidentally rising said demon to cause mayhem again, right? You have an interesting Jason in Zombie Jason. CJ, I think, does the best zombie portrayal. He's aggressive still. You know, he's a little bit slower. He has range walking. He's walking real fast. I dig it, man. Has easily the best opening in the entire series. One of the better horror openings. It's so like Hammer filmish, you know. I love it. So director Tom McLaughlin pays good homage to the movies of old, and in my interview with him, another shameless plug there, he talks about that just a little bit, and it sounded like he had a lot of fun on this set. So much goes right with that. Anyway, like, it's even got a car chase scene in there. We've never seen that before or since in a Friday the 13th movie, so it's just such a complete movie. So I kind of got to weigh those on, you know, like different scales in a way. So like I said, it's just a pure Friday the 13th movie. Part 4 is my favorite. Jason Lives, I think, is the best movie in the franchise. So I don't know, in Friday the 13th ranking, if it'd be fair to rate one above the other. You know, how can I have one that's a better movie, but still like this one better? Yeah, it's kind of a weird metric. I don't know. It's kind of a cop-out, but seriously, that's how it is, man. I had my family up here like last year, and we were watching some of the Friday the 13th one, and this is the one they commented on most, was 6. They liked that one. They were kind of surprised that they would like that movie, because that was the first one I showed them, too.
This is great!
You know, they were worried where it's just going to be some terrible horror movie, and it's not. It's a good movie. So, there it is. I mean, the 2 top in the series. So I think, once again, you got maybe the best human Jason, and I think the best zombie Jason. Both of them have pretty nice effects. Both of them look really nice. Tom McLaughlin has a really nice active camera as well. There's a great shot. I can't remember her name, but the final girl in this movie, where she's surrounded by police cars, all empty or full of dead occupants, and then the camera just kind of pulls back. And an overhead shot. Just lots of cool, creative things like that. Amazing movie, and I love them both. So there it is. So really quickly, in descending order of my least favorite to favorite, I have at number 11, Jason Takes Manhattan. Number 10, the original film. Number 9, Jason Goes to Hell. Number 8, The New Beginning. Number 7 is the remake from 2009. Number 6, Freddy vs. Jason. 5, The New Blood. 4, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D. 3, Jason X. Oh, no, I'm going to get all kinds of crap for that one. Number 2 is Part 2, and sharing the top spot is, or should I say are, Friday the 13th Part 4, the final chapter, and Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. So anyway, there it is. That got to be a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but it's hard to stop talking when you love the franchise so much. So yep, long overdue, and maybe only partially awaited review of the Friday the 13th series. So let me know down in the comments below what you think about the series and my ranking. Was I way off base, which I'm sure I'm going to be for a lot of people, but it's an opinion. You know, how can you be wrong on opinion, right? I'll also include some links down below of some of my interviews with Friday the 13th alums, such as Deborah Voorhees, Tom McLaughlin, CJ Graham, etc. Not to mention Adam Marcus. There are some really good stuff there, and you can find out a lot about the movies that maybe you don't know. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more review content coming up in the near future, because as you all know, if I can review it, I will do it. And I still get to choose my next horror franchise to review. Could be Halloween, could be Phantasm, who knows, but it's going to be something. So stay tuned for that, because the Hack and/or Slash series must live on. So anyway, thanks again for watching. Until next time, this is Genome, promising not to put down his ranking videos or put them off for so long.